This is Mac OS Ken.
Foxconn says things are looking up. India may get the iPhone 15 line on day one, and Apple and ARM walk hand in hand. It is Wednesday, the 6th of September, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. I don't think Howard Jones was right when he's saying things can only get better, but Apple and Foxconn seem to be entering getting better times. First, the darkest before the dawn part. Seeking Alpha ran a report Tuesday that had Apple's contract manufacturing partner saying revenue for August dropped quarter-on-quarter and year-on-year. From July to August, revenue was down 12%, while revenue was down 8% for August 2023 versus August 2022. Quoting the report, in the company's smart consumer electronics products category, which encompasses Apple's iPhones, Foxconn said that revenue fell month over month because of customers' increasing pull-in. That sounds really close to dirty, doesn't it? As for the rest of the quarter, which also encompasses Apple's iPhones, things are looking up. They're also looking better than they have in years past. Seeking Alpha has Foxconn saying in a statement, with the second half of the year peak season currently underway, operations will gradually ramp up. The outlook for the third quarter, which will be better than the second quarter, is expected to increase at an on-quarter pace higher than the average level of the previous 2 years. That this quarter would be better than the same quarter last year is not surprising. iPhone manufacturing fell apart last year thanks to the supply chain being ravaged by COVID. That it would be better than the year before is somewhat surprising. Of course, that may be tied to the love affair the planet is currently having with buying the most expensive smartphones it can get. They don't just cost more money to buy, they cost more money to make, which makes more money for Foxconn. Or maybe it's something else. Boy, talk about cutting it close. It looks like India may be among the first markets to carry the iPhone 15 line. Mac Rumors highlights a report from the Economic Times. That paper has secret sources indicating that Apple is on course to narrow the lag between the iPhone's global launch to a few days, perhaps achieving a simultaneous reveal in India. And you see why I say cutting it close. Apple is expected to announce release dates in less than a week. Speaking of day of, another piece from Mac Rumors has Apple retail peeps pulling a Buddy the Elf next Tuesday night. That site has Bloomberg's Mark Gurman indicating that Apple's retail stores are planning for overnight updates following the September 12th Wonderlust event. According to Mac Rumors, Gurman suggests that the overnight update could be because Apple is planning for near immediate availability of new products after the event, but it could also be time that is used to put up new marketing materials. It is not unusual for Apple retail stores to receive overnight updates ahead of new product launches. Checks online do indicate that Apple's fiscal year 2023 ends on the 30th of September. If Gurman is right about the near immediate availability, sales of new hardware would likely start on Friday, the 15th of September. That would mean 2 full weeks of iPhone sale to help pad the fourth quarter. But what? Order immediately after the keynote on Tuesday and have your phone by Friday? Or your Apple Watch? Or your other Apple Watch? Feels unlikely. It'd be neat, but it would also be Herculean. My guess would be marketing materials, maybe demo devices. We'll find out in a week. More on the rumor that Apple is ditching leather bands for Apple Watch. Apple Insider had Bloomberg's Mark Gurman hitting Twitter on Tuesday, saying Apple was offering leather Hermès bands to employees at ridiculous discounts. Like 90% off, according to Gurman, and according to a pal of mine who works at Apple retail. Sad to say I did a tiny bit more digging on Twitter, Later in the day, Gurman pointed out in another post that nearly all of the Hermès bands on Apple's website for consumers were sold out. That I checked out on Apple's site, and I will say, it's kind of annoying. Apple lets you go all the way through the process before telling you that the thing you're about to hit buy on is currently unavailable. The good news, I didn't accidentally buy a $1,300 watch. Couldn't have if I'd wanted to. As for what all of this means, Mac Rumor says the switch compels Gurman to forecast that the environment and sustainability will be a larger than normal part of the September 12th event. Have you made plans regarding how or where to watch next Tuesday's Wonderlust event? My personal preference finally went live yesterday. A piece from Mac Rumors says Apple has posted its electric placard on YouTube. According to the piece, the company has launched a YouTube live stream where viewers can sign up to get a reminder when the event kicks off. With that, places to watch include YouTube, Apple's events page at apple.com/events, and or through the Apple TV app, which is on almost anything with a screen. New iPhones, new models of Apple Watch, and news around OS releases are among expected announcements. You can watch for that and whatever else next Tuesday, the 12th of September at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Other times, other places. Apple and ARM will be walking hand in hand for the foreseeable future. 9to5Mac highlights a Reuters report that says the two firms have signed a new deal for chip technology that extends beyond 2040. Oh, it's so nice to hear such optimism about beyond. ARM plans to go public soon, listing on the NASDAQ in the weeks ahead. News of the extended deal follows Apple's agreement to invest in ARM stock. Scary to think that an extension might not have been reached. As 9to5Mac points out, Apple's ARM-based chips are in pretty much every one of the company's devices now, from the Apple Watch to the iPhone and iPad. That includes the Mac and its move in 2020 away from Intel and onto ARM-based Apple Silicon. Here's a surprising argument. Apple says iMessage is too small to qualify as a gatekeeper in the EU. This week, the European Union is set to publish a list of services that will fall under the purview of the Digital Markets Act, or DMA, meant to curb big tech. A piece from the Financial Times says the DMA imposes new responsibilities on tech companies, including sharing data, linking to competitors, and making their services interoperable with rival apps. That assumes that the service in question is big enough to be governed by the DMA, which Apple says iMessage is not. According to the report, platforms with an annual turnover of more than 7.5 billion euros, a market cap above 75 billion euros, and active monthly users in the EU of 45 million will fall under the rules, though the EU has some discretion over the designation beyond these metrics. According to a couple of secret sources, the Financial Times says Apple has argued that iMessage does not meet the threshold of user numbers at which the rules apply, and therefore should not comply with obligations that include opening the service to rival apps, such as Meta's WhatsApp. While iMessage is thought to have as many as 1 billion users globally, the Cupertino company doesn't say publicly how many people use what, where. As for whether Apple's small fry argument will work, the piece says the decision is likely to hinge on how Apple and the EU define the market in which iMessage operates. A third Apple store in the UK has voted to form a union. 9to5Mac says Apple Southampton has joined stores in Glasgow and London in making the switch. The United Tech and Allied Workers at Apple bills itself as a trade union for UK Apple employees, contractors, and other tech workers. In a post on its Twitter account, the organization indicated that staff at Apple Southampton have formally requested management voluntarily recognize their union. UTAW already represents a significant portion of workers at the retail store, the Post says, who want better working conditions job security, and better pay. 9to5Mac says reasons given by Southampton staff are similar to reasons given in other Apple stores. They're said to include pay, which has fallen behind inflation, non-transparent pay differences, inflexible shift arrangements, metric-driven management, and a punitive disciplinary culture when staff raise issues. UK law requires Apple to respond within 2 weeks, according to the report. Weird news Tuesday from Electric Beta Land. 9to5Mac says that is when Apple seeded the 9th beta of tvOS 17 to developers, and nothing else. Just tvOS 17. Weird. The latest Mac Studio is apparently making its way to Apple's Refurbished store. While the M1 versions released in spring of 2022 have been there for a bit, a piece from Mac Rumors says Apple's cleared a slot for the models of the machine released this past summer. For now, though, the slot is currently empty. When they arrive, the report says the machines will be available with either the M2 Max or M2 Ultra processors. They'll also sport various RAM and storage capacities. It's unclear when orders will begin, according to the report. Mac Rumor says availability will likely begin over the coming weeks. And finally today, Apple is still scaling the mountain that is classical music. iDownload blog says the Cupertino company has purchased the Swedish label Beast Records for an undisclosed sum. The report says the Beast Records catalog is mainly comprised of early and contemporary classical music not found or inadequately represented by existing recordings. iDownload blog says Beast will be added to Platoon, Apple's in-house music label, while its catalog will be folded into the Apple Music Classical app. It was the label that actually broke the news yesterday on Twitter. In a post signed by Beast founder Robert von Bahr, the label said, "After 50 years, Beast Records is proud to announce that we have joined the Apple family. Beast will become part of Apple Music Classical and Platoon. In this way, the musical treasures of our extensive catalog will be further enhanced and preserved." macOS Can, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Can. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.